Hey guys, today I want to talk about internet in the studio, and I want to talk about audio production school, and I want to talk about audio production books. But first we do that, smash that like button and subscribe. Let's do this. Okay, first off, using internet on your studio computer is a big no-no. Of course you can do whatever you like, but to me that's a big no-no. I use Logic Pro X, I don't update it. I don't update my plugins. I use the plugins that I have. I use the DAW that I have. I use the same sound cards that I have. Because if I start to upgrade, eventually it will stop working. Before you know it, you need to get a new computer and a new interface. So just put the studio computer in the freezer. There's no way to get to that computer unless you're plugging in a cable. I think I got this computer back in 2018. It's roughly 6 years ago since I got this computer. And before that I had a MacBook Pro, which was from 2010, I think. So it's like 8 years, something like that. That's my stake on internet in the studio. However, of course, I want to be able to get online when I'm at the studio, but then I use my phone. It would work just as fine. So let's talk about music production school. Is it good? Is it bad? I actually went to music production school. There's two sides of the coin here. There's one about music production school. Will you learn the craft and is it good? Can you learn the craft? But there's also another thing to talk about when you're talking about music school, and that's a lot of people paying money to go to school. And not only are they paying money to get the education, and they also take a bank loan so they can afford to pay their bills and eat food. And that's something that you need to ask yourself if you're willing to do. I live in a country where education is free. However, I took a loan to be able to buy food and pay my rent. If you take all the money thing to the side, and let's say you can afford a school, you can afford to spend a couple of years to learn the craft. Yes, I think the school is a good way to do it. That don't say that you can't get all the information online. On platforms like YouTube, all the information is out there. But there are also a ton of crap of other information that don't make any sense at all. And when you know what's right or wrong, when you know the physics of sounds, then you know when somebody's telling the truth and not. One thing that's really, really good when going to audio production school is that you get a couple of years and you're sitting like 8 hours a day and just figuring out stuff, learning stuff, trying out stuff. Because nobody can say that, okay, so you're gonna record the vocals, then you're gonna use this, and this, and you're gonna record it like this. But it doesn't work like that. The way it works is you learn different kind of microphones will do different things. Different compressors will do different things. Different EQs will do different things. And you learn how the sound reacts to whatever gear you're using. And then in the end, you have an idea in your head. I want it to sound like this. Then you know, okay, I need to take this microphone and I need to plug it into this compressor and this EQ. And I need to do this and that. And use some parallel EQ, parallel compression, you name it. When you know all the tools and when you know all the tricks, then you know when to use it and how to use it. When you go into audio production school, you get a couple of years and just sitting and trying out stuff. And that's something that's really, really good. Because if you don't go to school, you need to go to work. And you're going to work, and that means that you stay at work at 8 hours a day. And then you have to go home and eat food and do all of the other things that you do when you're alive. There's not a lot of time left to actually try stuff out. So you go online and you're looking at YouTube and the guy that screams the most gets all the views. However, it doesn't mean that the guy that screams loudest on YouTube knows what the hell he's talking about. In that case, yes, audio production school is good if you can afford it. I don't want anybody to take giant loans that you're gonna pay off the rest of your life just to become a little bit better at music production, because that's not worth it. But if this is something that you want to do and you think that, yeah, I can actually afford this, then actually it is good. Sound production is really good because it gives you the time to really learn the craft. And also all the books and all the knowledge that you get while you're at the audio production school, you can always count on that is reliable and is not just a guy making stuff up because he thinks that's how it works. So the next thing that I want to talk about is actually audio production books. So I went to audio production school, and I have tons of books. I'm also at YouTube every day. I want to see if I can find something new, interesting idea or anything. It can even give me ideas to watch channels on YouTube that don't know what they're talking about, because that can also be kind of twisting my head a little bit. I'm also a member of Mix with the Masters, which is super great, but it's kind of expensive. But there's tons of information that's kind of cool to do, especially a lot of tricks from the pro producers. Yeah, so let's start talking about books. So this book is The Art of Mixing 2nd edition, written by David Gibson. There. This is actually, I don't know. All of my books I bought when I went to school. I was told to get these books. This book is good if you don't know what you're doing at all. I mean, if you're a total beginner and you want to learn how to mix. To me, this was like, yeah, okay, I already know all of this shit that's in this book. Because most of what this book is taking up is like, where do you place a sound in the mix? Like the kick drum in the middle, snare in the middle, pan, the overheads, and should it be in the front or in the back, blah, blah, blah. And that's just what it is. And the thing that's perhaps is a little bit different from other books is that it's a visual guide. That means there is actually pictures from, I mean, let's see. Yeah. So you can like you can see here, you see it's like kick in the middle and I don't know. David Gibson also made a DVD of this book. It's the same with all the visuals. You can find it on YouTube. Go check it out if you like to. This is more for the beginner that hasn't done any mixing, that want to learn where do you put the snare drum or where do you put the cowbell. I don't know. Really, really basic from the ground. I wouldn't have bought that book unless I had to. Next book is also kind of like the beginner's book. It's called Modern Recording Techniques, the 8th edition, by David Miles Huber and Rupert E. Runstein. Looks like this. This book is good when you want to learn exactly what's going on in the recording process. I mean, this is the basic how to record stuff and what kind of microphones, how different microphones react, what's the compressor, what's MIDI, basically this book brings up all the different kinds of stuff that you're using when you're recording. Let's talk about the mastering process, mixing surround, monitoring, how to place monitors, how speakers are designed, the dynamic signal processing, synchronization, different cable connectors, what's the difference between digital and analog audio. So it's kind of basic to understand how recordings works from back in the day until today. This is not a book that I want to suggest to people unless that you really, really want to learn everything there is to learn. This will not make you a better producer or mix engineer or whatever. And this one, The Sound and Recording Application of Theory, written by Francis Ramsey and Tim McCormick, is a little bit the same, but it goes much, much more into details. It talks about what is sound. It's talk about auditory perception, microphones, loudspeaker, mixers, analog recording, noise reduction, digital audio principles, digital recording, digital audio formats and interchanging, power amplifier, lines, interconnection, plugins, MIDI, synchronization, two-channel stereo, principle of light speakers, surround sound, sound quality, what is sound quality. So this goes really into the deep about the more technical stuff, the gear stuff, how you take a sound and record it and what's happening to it when it's been recorded. So this is not about being a great mixer and producer. This is more about the theory of all the gear that you use. And by gear, I'm not talking about different compressors. I'm talking about cables and interfaces and consoles and microphones and you name it. But it's a good book if that's what you're up for. So these two books are super great. These books are called Behind the Glass. It should be like this. Volume 1 and Volume 2. This is actually a really cool book because it's written by Howard Massey, or Massey or whatever it's called. This guy has actually met a lot of producers and interviewed them. And he talks about different techniques and he's interviewing them about different albums they made and stuff like that. And it's super, super good. It's super, super cool. And his interview, I mean, there are big producers like here's George Martin, Brian Wilson, Phil Ramone, and even more. Eddie Kramer, Sylvia Massey. I don't know, you name it. They are all here. I mean, people that has T-Bone Burnett. Oh, you name it. Bruce Swedin. I mean, there are super great producers that have been interviewed here, and it's, as you can see, a lot of text. These books I highly suggest you to get because this is really good. Really good insight. You will learn stuff from here, from the pros, that you can't find anywhere else. This is actually a really good book to start with because this one, the producer's manual, all you need to get pro recording and mixes in the Project Studio by Paul White. This is actually really good because it goes through everything. I mean, it don't dive deep, but it goes through everything. It goes from like, let's see here, section 1, on the shoulder of the giants. That's when they go through all the typical gear and talk about that a little bit. I mean, like the giants. I mean, the classics. They're talking about Pultec. They're talking about 1176, LA2As, all different kinds of gear. That's kind of the classic gear. And they're talking about recordings, and they're talking about how to mix and how to produce. A lot of tricks about how to use compression, reverb, pitch correction, vocal production, electric guitar production, drum production, arrangement, mix, sound, mastering. It's going through everything in this book. This is a really good book if you just want to buy one book. I know that Warren Ewan at Produce Like a Pro have written a book, and I think it's a little bit like this one. I haven't read it, but I think it's a really good book. Anyway, this is a good book if you want to get like the whole chain, how from the first sound to the final master. It's a producer's manual, as it says on the book. Now the next book, Mixing Audio, Concepts, Practices and Tools by Royal Istraki. I don't know how it's pronounced. It's a really good book anyway. This book really digs into mixing. And it's all about mixing. From all how you use different compressors, different EQs, side chaining, ducking, and it also in the end of the book there's a lot of songs that you actually can train to mix and what they've done to it. This is a really good book that goes really deep into all the different kinds of techniques that you can use while you're mixing. It even has a really good chapter about how to use compressors to get those transients to really cut through on drums. I will highly suggest this one if you want to become real nerdy about mixing. This is a good book. But this is also a great book, The Sound Effects, Unlocking the Creative Potential of Recording Studio Effects by Alexander UK. This is a book that only talks about the sound effects. And we're not talking about only reverbs and delay. We're talking about everything. We're talking about reverb delays, but also parallel, side chaining, and how to get transient, how to get rid of transients, how to control a reverb with a delay and such. If you want to be a master in the studio, I mean, the other book is super great for mixing and stuff like that, but this is really going into the deep and unlocks a lot of creativity for you. I highly suggest this one. And the next book is Mastering Audio, the Art and the Science by Bob Katz. I know this one is kind of famous out there. At least Bob Katz is famous out there. This is a good book about mastering. It's the only book about mastering that I have. The guy is super talented. He talks a lot about signals, difference between analog signal and digital signals and stuff like that. If you want to go into a little bit more on the depth on the mastering and LUFS and that kind of stuff, you should get it. But sometimes I still pick up books. I can sit and watch TV with my family and I get this idea and I say, oh, I wonder how that works. And I go up and take a book from the shelf and start to look it up. So I still use the books after all these years. I actually love to read the books. And the next book might actually be the most important book that I got when I went to audio production school. This is called Master Handbook of Acoustic. It's written by Everest Pullman. Looks like this. This is a super good book. The only thing that you can read about is, the only thing that this book takes up is acoustics. Acoustics, acoustics, acoustics. And there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about acoustic if you're gonna treat your room. Or if you're gonna treat your room and get the results that you like. There's a lot of formulas, there's a lot of text. It takes some time to know what the hell you're reading, because this book will not say, do this and it will be good. No, it's actually learning you how the sound travels in space and what you can do to control that. What's the difference with sounds traveling in the live room and in the control room, and what's the difference in sound in a theater and a movie theater, or even how sounds travel in your living room. This is a really, really good book. It pretty much has everything you need to be able to make a good sounding room. And the last book that I have is actually The Recording Unhinged by Sylvia Massey. I mean, look at it. It's super cool. Sylvia has made all of these crazy paintings. And this is not your typical music production book. This is a super cool book because she talks about a lot of stuff. And the biggest difference is, of course, she's always been this crazy gal that's always trying crazy stuff. I mean, she's shooting a piano, miking up the piano and shooting the piano with a shotgun. And all this crazy stuff. Here you can see she's lighting an organ on fire. It's not only that she's writing about this crazy stuff, she's also actually going into like, what's the signal chain when she was recording Johnny Cash, for instance. That's good knowledge. And she has all this small diaphragm. This is how to shoot a piano. So she's using a Neumann U87 and a Shure SM57, or two U87 and one SM57 to actually record the shot. And she's using acoustic guitar pickups on the piano to record it. And then it going into then it goes into 1176 and 1178 and a Fairchild and a Neve console into a tape. So yeah, she's something out of the ordinary. It's a super good book, and she's also talking to other famous producers. Here you can see there's Sylvia Massey's secret. It's not so secret anymore, Sylvia. Her secret vocal chain. She's using a U47 into a Neve 1073 into 175B, which is the predecessor to 1176, and it's a very mute compressor them into an 1176, and then record. Stuff like that. How to reamp a snare. That's also cool stuff. How she recorded Tool's bass guitar. It's good to just sit and read in the couch that evening but it's also super good because you would get, this book is good because you would get, not only would you get a lot of knowledge, you also get a lot of inspiration because she's totally crazy. She's been doing so many stupid things. She's taped people upside down on the wall while they're singing. Come on, she's something else. It's a great book. To sum it all up, I would say, get this one. Great book for sound effects. If you want to learn how to make the most out of delays and reverbs and parallel compressions and taming transients. This is a super good book for that. This is a super good book when you want to fix the sound in your studio. You need to, if you want to read and learn about how to fixing your acoustics in your studio. This is a great book for that. This is a great book. Behind the Glass is great if you want to just learn tips and tricks from other producers. This is super good. And this one is probably the one that I would suggest people that don't have all of the other books. People that just I want to get a book and I want to get my information from some other places than YouTube. This is a great way to start. This book takes everything from recording to mixing, a lot of mixing tips, and they're talking about the classical gears. Of course, you probably won't afford a real Pultec, but you can get a Pultec clone or you can get a plug-in Pultec style EQ. Hell, there is even a Pultec style EQ coming with Logic Pro X for free. A great book to start with. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe. Until next time, have a good life.